Jamie, the flags outside our studios are half staff, and it's gotten to the point recently where I'm not sure for which tragic event in the news. Less than 2 weeks after the controversial police shooting death of Alton Sterling, Baton Rouge is grieving again. Yesterday, 3 area police officers were killed and 3 other officers were wounded as authorities responded to a report of a man with an assault rifle. That gunman was killed at the scene. This is a story that especially hits close to home for former NFL running back Warrick Dunn. When he was 18, Dunn's mom, a Baton Rouge police officer, was shot and killed off duty while escorting someone to a local bank. Suddenly, as a high school senior, Dunn had to assume guardianship of his 5 younger siblings. And following yesterday's shootings, emotions were running high for Dunn. The former Bucks and Falcons star released a statement given to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution saying in part, "My heart breaks for the families and law enforcement officers in Baton Rouge who have lost loved ones. I've been in similar shoes. It will change their lives and leave them reeling with questions for years to come. It is a shame. So many officers who are out there on the front lines have tremendous heart for what they do. These acts of violence don't solve anything, and if my voice can add to the movement to stop it, then I'd consider that a good thing. I struggle emotionally to understand why and how police officers are being targeted in the way they are. The reality of our world is that there is a lot of unrest in our communities, particularly where police shootings are happening. It takes me back, of course, to when my black mother was ambushed and killed by a black man. We can't just sit around and talk about how horrible all this is. We have to do something, and that means it always starts with the individual." Now, when he made it to the NFL after being a star at Florida State, Dunn carried his mom's legacy, starting a program that helps single parents secure a home. Nearly 150 families have benefited from that program. It's good to have Warrick Dunn with us now on SportsCenter AM on the phone. And Warrick, what went through your mind yesterday when you first heard the news about yesterday's shooting in Baton Rouge?
Good morning. I was in complete shock. I just couldn't fathom that community, and knowing what happened in Dallas a week before, that community would have to go through something like that again 23 years later. And I know I got a call from the AJC, Orlando Ledbetter, and I just told him I couldn't even express him in words at that particular moment, because emotionally now I'm connecting with the families mentally, because I'm not in Baton Rouge, but I feel for them. I also feel for the officers that are on the front lines. I mean, I have a lot of still close relationships with law enforcement in Baton Rouge, and it just really it touches home. And then I have to go back there later this week, in the middle of the week, to testify in my mom's trial 23 years later, the guy who was convicted of murdering my mom, so in a resentencing. So it's definitely an emotional time, not just for myself, but my entire family, and everyone is just really just grappling for words.
I know that man that was convicted is on death row, and obviously that is 2 completely different emotions that you have to carry, something from 20 years ago and to now of date. What advice, Warrick, would you give the families this morning as they deal with this tragic event?
Well, I just look back and realize that I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't be sane if it wasn't for the city of Baton Rouge, the community. They embraced my family, and I think they would do the same with these families. It's a small niche community that cares about each other, and they showed us that in our time of need, and I think they're going to step up today and step up in this immediate presence to assist these families. But to look back on the years and understand and try to figure out, and asking the questions, why this and why that, you're never going to get those answers, but you have to try to figure out a way to gradually put the pieces together, and it's going to take years for that, because when you lose someone that has sacrificed their life to protect other people, but also to provide for, the family, I mean, it speaks volumes, and I salute those guys. I mean, I understand the struggle, but also my heart goes out to the families, because I had to grow up become a man at 18 years old and take care of my brothers and sisters. And I know a lot of, these men have families, wives, and kids. Now their wives have to figure out a way to convey to their kids their father's legacy. And it's going to be a pressure and a burden for them to live up to replace the other half, which is impossible. So my heart goes out to them, to all the officers that are definitely, trying to do the right thing.
Warrick, your statement yesterday said we can't just sit around and talk about how horrible all this is. We have to do something. What can we do?
Well, we have these political figures that, they have the platform to go out and make laws to create positive change. I just don't think, that we are doing the things that are necessary to provide safety for the everyday common individual, but also law enforcement. And, my mom was ambushed, and I have to go to a resentencing of a guy who said, years later that he was mentally challenged. When he committed the act, he wasn't mentally challenged then, and now that is his defense. So, you have lawyers that can sway words and rewrite things in a way that conveys a certain point. We have to throw that out the window and just look at the facts. And I think, politicians have to put their head together and not continue to fight, and says, we have to make sure that we have a safe country, a loving country for every American citizen, or every human being, and no matter race, creed, or color. And we definitely have to look at gun laws. We have to look at retaliation on police officers. But, it starts with the individuals sitting in the room and just really talking it out and coming up with a constructive way to set a precedent so that we don't have these incidents continuing to happen in this country.
Warrick, there's one thing that we've noticed here, one big issue about taking sides, and we often see it on social media. Either you support law enforcement or you support the community. How can we stop that divide and bring it together where you could support the community and you could still also support law enforcement, because you're part of that?
Yeah, I am. I mean, my mom was a civil servant, law enforcement, so I do support law enforcement, and I understand that there are some bad cops, but there are a lot of great cops. And the one thing I think people need to realize is that in the media, what you hear about are all the bad things. They don't really convey all the great human beings that are police officers that go out and go the extra mile. When my mom died, you heard about all the good things after she died. Something had to happen for people to hear the great stories. And I think we don't say or share enough of the great messages of police officers that are doing good. You do have bad cops, and it's up to the chiefs in the different communities, political figures to put a halt to that and punish those individuals. But also, I support the community because I feel like, we all don't have a fair opportunity or the same opportunities, but you have to create your opportunities sometimes. But I like giving people hope that if you work hard for something in life, if you've taken the steps that, people need a helping hand. And, I'm on both sides of the fence. I understand the issues, but at the same time, we can't revert back to, 50 years ago and the times that we just didn't have, law and order in our country. I mean, we have to have law and order, but it's also, coming together as citizens in this country and caring for one another. So it's not about black or white. It's not about the guys in blue. It's about a community. And that community is made up of individuals from all race, creed, color, police officers, athletes, actors, everyday working people, everyday people that are living to have the best life. And I encourage everyone that we can't pick sides. We have to, stop all the nonsense and work together to make, this society better for our future, for the kids that are coming up behind us, because this world is in trouble if we can't, make the world for our kids better.
Well said. Warrick, we wish you the best later on this week, and thank you. Your mother would be very proud of the legacy you've continued here with your program helping single parents. Thank you very much, Warrick.
I appreciate it. Thank you.